Finding ways to trick teachers into letting you goof off in class is every kid's favorite hobby. Pretending that you need to print something so you can go to the computer lab and meet up with your friends. Saying you have to go to the bathroom and then just scrolling the SCP wiki for 20 minutes. Numbing your mind with BuzzFeed quizzes and then quickly switching to a half-finished Google Doc whenever the teacher gets up to walk around the classroom. And of course the classic, gaslighting your math teacher into letting everyone play flash games for the entire lesson because there's this really great educational site called Cool Math Games where you do subtractions and play logic games. Cool Math Games is an iconic internet site and a staple in classrooms across the globe, popularizing games like Run, Papa's Pizzeria, Fireboy and Water Girl, and more. So today let's dive into the history and legacy of the internet's most famous quote-unquote educational math game website. Before we get into things, I just want to give a huge thank you to Disney Emoji Blitz for sponsoring this video. You can download the game for free using the link below on your mobile device or tablet. Disney Emoji Blitz is unlike any other match 3 game out there. Each emoji has its own super cool power up and you can control what to use, giving each game you play a huge element of strategy. There's a huge expansive collection of Disney, Pixar and Star Wars characters to collect, as well as new characters added all the time, which if you're a collector at heart like me, you will love. Every emoji has a different category, from silver to gold to rainbow exclusive, woo! Plus story and villain emojis because let's be real, who doesn't love a Disney villain? If you couldn't tell already, it's pretty expansive. Plus the emojis that you earn in game can actually be sent to your friends during your regular banter sessions. There are so many epic emojis to choose from, but my favorite at the moment is Gingerbread Mickey because it's adorable and who doesn't like gingerbread? Disney Emoji Blitz is celebrating Disney 100 all year long with a new platinum emoji to collect each month, and you can also get Mickey for free just by downloading the game. Again, you can download the game for free using the link below on your mobile device or tablet. Thanks again to Disney Emoji Blitz for sponsoring the video, and now let's get into the history of Cool Math Games. For a site that's most well known these days for enabling kids to play Papa's Freezeria or Parking Fury 2 under the guise of doing mathematics, Cool Math Games actually had some pretty academic origins. The site was originally launched in 1997 as coolmath.com, and as you can see from this footage, it was very different to the Cool Math Games that we know and love today. With its stark black and neon color scheme, gaudy 3D GIFs, and copious text links, it's the epitome of the 90s web. Back then, Cool Math didn't actually have any games, instead it simply contained basic links to math lessons for algebra, trigonometry, calculus, and other educational topics. The math etc. category is probably the closest that the site came to games at this point in time, but even then they were just text pages with math puzzles and problems, occasionally jazzed up by some images or GIFs. There was also a long list of links including math and science resources for kids, teaching resources for teachers, and links for web design so you could make a totally rad and fresh site for your fellow netcats to add to their web ring. Let's pause for a second though, because the first thought that popped into my mind as soon as I started researching Cool Math Games, and you might be wondering this as well, is who made it. Usually with these viral nostalgic sites, the creator or developer come out of the woodwork at some point, usually to shill nostalgia bait NFTs or something, but not so with Cool Math Games. In fact, the creator's identity is so shrouded in mystery that I struggled to find any information on them at all. 2 decades on from its release and not a single interview, photo, social media profile, or anything. I was honestly starting to think that Cool Math Games was like an SCP that just poofed itself into existence fully formed, but then I started seeing the name Karen popping up a lot. At first I thought it was a joke. I watched a short history of Cool Math Games video put out by the official Cool Math Games channel, which exists, and when they said the website was made by quote a teacher named Karen with this image accompanying it, I thought it was just a joke. A jest, a jape, some good-natured tomfoolery. But then when I loaded up the original 1997 to 1998 Cool Math website on the Wayback Machine, I found out that not only is Karen a real person, but she's like the coolest person ever. Her 1998 bio is decorated with spinning electric guitar gifs. Her hobbies include playing the acoustic and electric guitars, listening to classical rock music, and quote-unquote surfing the net. One of her favorite movies is The Princess Bride, and she's obsessed with Wallace and Gromit. Her bio reads, in part, I am an instructor of mathematics at a community college in California. I'm also a freelance graphic artist. I was an art major prior to majoring in math. Go figure, smiley face with sunglasses. The Karen cinematic universe is expanded on in an updated 2008 Cool Math bio, where we find out that not only does she play the guitar, but is in a band, like Seinfeld, and has 3 cats called Buddy, Tigger, and Oreo. Oreo isn't pictured here. He was unfortunately lost in the math vortex. And we even get a photo of what Karen looks like IRL. This was literally one of the only photos I could find in all of my research, so this is a pretty rare glimpse at the creator of Cool Math Games. The bio has links to a gallery of her beach photography since she noted that she loves the beach and boogie boarding, and this led me down yet another rabbit hole of more sites that Karen made, including a finance education website for kids and teens called financefreak.com, whose slogan is, quote, "A fool and his money are soon parted. Don't be a fool, be a freak," which is incredible, as well as a website called Totally Stressed Out containing helpful information for students struggling with mental health and stress. This is where that beach gallery comes into play, as she actually uploaded all of her beach photography as a calming gallery that students could scroll through to de-stress, which is incredibly wholesome. I honestly love Karen. Basically, I set out to find the creator of Cool Math Games, and instead I went down a rabbit hole and researched this extremely cool and hip teacher from 1997 for like multiple hours. Karen noted in her bio that she actually used to hate math and frequently got Fs because she was underprepared and put in grades too high for her, until she went to college, improved her skills, and came to love maths. She created coolmath.com to share her love of math with her students and help them to learn that it doesn't need to be hard or stressful, but can actually be really fun. But how did the site go from an educational resource for kids, teens, and teachers wanting to teach and learn mathematics, as well as a place for Karen to upload assessments for her class, to the time-wasting flash game portal that we know it as today? In 2004, after the original site had become fairly popular among teachers and students, a sister site was launched called coolmathforkids.com, sporting a brightly coloured layout filled with psychedelic fractals and illustrations. Actually, in the early days, Cool Math for Kids had this really cute cartoon dog and cat as its mascot, which I'm assuming Karen drew since she noted that she studied to be a cartoonist. Cool Math for Kids had a section called Cool Math Games, which became the most popular area of the site as kids naturally gravitated towards the games rather than you know, math resources. So coolmath.com remained as a math and teaching resource. Cool Math for Kids was for kids aged 13 and under, and Cool Math Games, which was technically just a subpage of Cool Math for Kids, was established as a place for Karen and co to put all of the math, logic, and problem-solving games that they had collated over the years. It really took off, largely helped by the fact that it was advertised to teachers as a learning tool for the classroom, when in reality it was basically just flash games. These days most people have no idea that Cool Math or Cool Math for Kids exist, nor do they know about the Cool Math branded series of algebra books that Karen released. The academic origins of the site have largely been forgotten these days, and honestly I can't really blame people for forgetting. The flame of Cool Math Games has burned so bright that it has eclipsed all of its predecessors, and I think that's beautiful. Cool Math Games has well over 1,000 games from all kinds of genres, from cooking to construction to mazes to endless runners to platformers to quizzes, and oh yeah, I guess it has a couple of math games here and there or something. Whenever I think of Cool Math Games, I immediately think of Fireboy and Water Girl, but everyone will have their own unique game that sparks those nostalgic memories for them. Fireboy and Water Girl was created in November of 2009 by Oslo, Albert, and Jan Villanueva and was published by Miniclip, another flash game portal from the 2000s and 2010s. It's interesting to note that while Cool Math Games have released their own games that were made in-house, including Cool Math Games, the game, most of them are licensed from indie developers who get paid a licensing fee to have their games on the site. In case you were wondering exactly where all of these games materialized from. Anyway, Fireboy and Water Girl is a co-op platformer that you can play using a single keyboard, with one player using the arrow keys to control Fireboy and the other using WASD to control Water Girl. Together you have to solve puzzles using levers, buttons, and lifts, and complete platforming levels of varying difficulty, all while avoiding the lava/water depending on which character you're playing as. If you die by stepping on lava or water as the wrong character, or stepping in green goo as either character, you die and have to start from the very start. There are tons of levels which branch out from each other and get progressively more tricky, as well as 5 sequel games. The first game is the Forest Temple, the second is the Light Temple, the third is the Ice Temple, the fourth is the Crystal Temple, the fifth is Elements, and the sixth and final game is Fairy Tales. Yeah, Fireboy and Water Girl was basically a franchise. The Fireboy and Water Girl cinematic universe even. These games were great to play in class because not only did it have nothing to do with math whatsoever, but since you only needed one keyboard, it was perfect to play with a friend. Also, this is kinda unrelated to the game, but it's insane, so I feel like I really need to mention it. Recently, Pixar came out with a trailer for Elemental, a new animated movie. The Cool Math Games Twitter, which is interesting, we'll talk about it in a bit, made a tweet comparing Elemental's concept, which is about different elements including fire and water all living together in a city, with Fireboy and Water Girl's concept. This tweet got super popular with over 80,000 likes, and they ended up ratioing Pixar, which then led to multiple like clickbait videos about how Pixar is stealing the concept and they're being accused by the masses of theft, and this is all played 100% straight. For the record, while it is legendary, Fireboy and Water Girl did not invent the concept of humanizing or personifying elements. I can't believe that was like an actual accusation leveled at Pixar. I love the internet sometimes. Speaking of games that reached absolute legend status, let's talk about Run. Despite the vaguely threatening name, Run is another iconic staple on Cool Math Games, and one of the games that really put the site on the map. According to the Run Wikia, which has nearly 900 pages for some reason, I guess the Run lore runs deep. The first Run game was released in August of 2008 by Joseph Clartier, also known as Player03. Originally designed for a game contest, Run is a simple game where you play as a space alien running through 3D levels. You have to run and jump to avoid the gaps and holes in the level, and to add an extra dimension of gameplay, you can run on all 4 walls, so if there's a hole in front of you, you can jump to the wall next to you to shift the entire level. This adds a surprisingly deep strategic element, since rather than just being about moving and jumping in time to get over the holes, you now have to keep an eye on all 4 dimensions of the level to try and figure out the best path forward. Some walls will have dead ends or impassable gaps, so it's about figuring out how to best hop between planes to make it safely to the end of the level. There were 3 games released in the series, aptly named Run 1, Run 2, and Run 3. The first game was the most basic, simply using flat 2D levels, but the second game improved on this formula by making the levels 3D and blocky, which added a bit more challenge since you couldn't actually wall jump onto flat planes facing you, only planes to the side of you. Run 3 once again reverted to a flat 2D level style, but the levels had way more sides and thus could get extremely complex when trying to find a path through them. This is another game that really calls into question the educational angle of Cool Math Games. Their reasoning is that all of these games engage your brain and test your logic and skill, and I'm sure that Run does do that to an extent, but I don't know, it feels like something is missing here. Duck Life, released all the way back in 1999, is a pet care / training simulator where you raise and train a duck. That's really it. Despite the pretty basic layout and design, which, I mean, come on, it was released in 1999, it's a pretty captivating game. You can level up your duck by making it participate in races and flight challenges to improve its various stats, feed it seed to increase its energy, and unlock customizations. Addictive, yet extremely easy to just casually pull up during class. This one is also just worth noting because I always get it mixed up with Can Your Pet, which was a viral shock flash game also about raising a cute bird. It appears all cute and wholesome from the outside, allowing you to feed and play with your chick, but when you try to take it out for exercise, it shows the chick being shredded and put into a can. Get it? Like Can Your Pet? It's clever. I remember it being super big in the 2010s, especially on Let's Play YouTube after YouTubers like Markiplier and PewDiePie played it because it was shocking and crazy and whoa. Anyway, this is a tangent. Duck Life is great, I just feel bad that it will forever be tied to this like viral flash gore game from the 2010s in my mind. Moving on. The Papa series, created by Flipline Studios, comprises a whopping 17 games and has spanned over a decade, with the first game, Papa's Pizzeria, releasing in 2006. The game centers around a pizza delivery boy called Roy who has to take over the pizzeria after the owner, Papa Louie, abandons the restaurant to go do his own thing, I guess. Papa's Pizzeria is a classic time management game. You take orders from customers, assemble pizzas according to those orders, and hand them off for tips, which vary depending on how accurate your pizza making skills are. The pizzas are horrendous too. Most customers have extremely bizarre orders like bell pepper but only on the left side of the pizza, or 4 single slices of pepperoni only on the right side. It has big non-pizza left beef energy. Papa's Pizzeria could get pretty stressful, you know, having to comprehend let alone actually make up these wacky orders, having to keep an eye on up to 4 pizzas cooking for different lengths at a time, and having to keep up with the demand of all the customers. You're there having a mental breakdown, meanwhile Papa Louie is out there living his best life, absconding from his duties. Following the huge success of Papa's Pizzeria, Flipline Studios figured, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and proceeded to make many more Papa's insert food here area style games. Papa's Burgeria, Papa's Taco-Mia, Papa's Freezeria, Papa's Pancakeria, Papa's Wingeria, Papa's Hot Doggeria, Papa's Cupcakeria, Papa's Donuteria, Papa's Cheeseria, Papa's Bakeria, Papa's Sushiria, Papa's Scooperia, Papa's Mocharia, Papa's Cluckeria, and Papa's Pastaria. That's right, not only does Papa Louie have his own chain of pizzerias, but he has seemingly cornered the market on every food to ever exist. Despite this, the plot of pretty much every Papa game is that he's abandoning the restaurant to go dick around, leaving you to run the entire business, honestly probably still for minimum wage. As YouTube user iForgore says, Papa Louie is like a father figure to me. He always leaves. Personally, I was never a huge fan of tower defense style games, but they were a hugely popular genre back in the day, and pretty much any Flash game portal website that you went on would be flooded with them. Bloons Tower Defense was by far the most popular example on Cool Math Games, and I don't really have too much to say about it. You know, it was your typical tower defense game, but with cute monkey characters. But then I realized that Ninja Kiwi, the game developer behind Bloons Tower Defense, is actually based in New Zealand, and I just thought that was really neat. I feel like we don't get enough rep in the video game world. Bloons actually did really well for itself. It became a bit of a franchise with a ton of installments, and Ninja Kiwi even collaborated with Cartoon Network to make an Adventure Time version of Bloons, which is pretty awesome. And finally, some honorable mentions because there are just that many iconic games that deserve a shout out. Snail Bob, Moto X3M, Chess/Snake/Solitaire/ any other generic game that everyone likes because it's a classic. 8-Ball Pool, Block Saws, Learn to Fly, Wheelie, and so many more. RIP childhood memories. Cool Math Games is a lot different today than it was in the golden years, thanks in large part to the discontinuation of Flash Player. We've actually covered the death of Flash multiple times before on this channel, mainly because it had such a huge widespread impact on so many nostalgic games and websites from the 2000s, most of which run on Flash. When Flash's discontinuation was announced, a post on r/teenagers claiming that the site would be shutting down in 2020 got over 20,000 notes and 2,000 comments. Quote, "Attention all Cool Math gamers. Cool Math Games is shutting down on February 16th, 2020. Adobe Flash support is being stopped, forcing all Flash sites to shut down. It is the end, gamers. Let us all rise and press F and pay our condolences." It's like the most Reddit post I've ever read. The post has since been edited to note that the whole thing was a hoax and the OP was just epic trolling, but by that point the damage had already been done and rumors about the site shutting down were widespread. Also, for some reason, a rumor started that the site was run by the Mexican drug cartel. Okay. The whole Flash thing got so bad that Cool Math Games themselves actually had to address it. We've seen a crazy rumor flying around that Cool Math Games is shutting down, but don't worry, there's no truth to it. The concern seemed to be about Flash games because Flash has no longer been supported since the end of 2020. However, we've been totally focused on HTML5 games for years now. We've also converted a large number of our older Flash games to HTML5 so you can keep playing them even when Flash support ends. And this is true mostly. All of the new games on Cool Math Games are HTML5, and even some of the classics have been made playable thanks to the site partnering with AwayFL, an Adobe Flash Player emulator. From my experience using the site specifically for this video, I rarely got the classic games to work properly, from literally unplayable lag in games like Papa's Pizzeria and Fireboy and Water Girl, to the game straight up being broken, like I couldn't play any of the run games since they would just go to a black screen whenever I tried to start them up. And I tried this on multiple different computers with the same results, so if anyone regularly plays Cool Math Games or is willing to do a little experiment and play some games on the website, I'd be genuinely curious to hear if the games work for you and how well they run. I saw a few other people online complaining of similar issues, but it's really hard to tell whether that's a site-wide issue or just like a me issue. Sound off in the comments. Even aside from a lot of the games not working great, at least for me personally, the site is a far cry from what it used to be. The old vivid neon kinda eyesore graphic design and layout of Cool Math Games was so great and made the site stand out as something genuinely appealing to kids. The fact that Karen, my beloved, actually designed all of it herself with her epic web design skills and her prowess as a cartoonist makes it all the more charming and endearing. The vibrant, cool look of the original site matched perfectly with her goal of making math cool and fun for kids, so removing that from its original context, it feels a little lifeless. Well, maybe not lifeless, but it's lost a lot of that original quirky charm. Small elements of that classic look still remain in bits and pieces here and there, but I can't help but feel that a lot of what made the site so special has kind of been lost over the years, but you know, that's the passage of time, baby. We also kind of have to talk about the Twitter account. So Cool Math Games has a social media presence, which is pretty unsurprising, right? It's a website after all, and it's helpful for websites to have Twitters or Instagram to keep their users up to date on news, site updates, and potential outages or issues. But like many companies, brands, and products in current year, it's not enough to have a social media presence. You have to have a hashtag cool and hashtag hip and hashtag relevant social media presence. A few months ago, I made a video about the Norm of the North Twitter account, which became infamous for its off-the-wall tweets about animated children's character Norm going to rehab or being an inside job or this. The tweets were so out of left field and inappropriate for the target audience that Twitter users became convinced that it was a social media intern gone rogue or some bitter ex-employee. In reality, it was clearly a pretty intentional marketing stunt for a very low-stakes IP, heavily inspired by the viral Rainbow Fish Twitter account, which was another kid's IP that began posting inappropriate tweets and gaining huge traction for them. Although, footnote, the Rainbow Fish account was actually just a parody and not the official account, even though people thought it was. Basically, TLDR, the Rainbow Fish account was one of the first, alongside other accounts like Wendy's and KFC, to popularize this kind of, whoa, I'm a generally family-friendly brand, but I'm gonna start posting esoteric hashtag random memes and edgy content. I'm a social media intern gone rogue, guys. I bet you didn't expect me, insert child/family-friendly brand, to post that. Am I right, guys? I'm bringing all of this up because as someone who's spent an unhealthy amount of time scrolling the Norm of the North Twitter account, the Cool Math Games account very much feels like a spiritual successor. Just figured out what the F word is. It's frick. Might get fired for this one, guys. Playing Cool Math Games in the computer lab in 2011. Hive mind behavior. Excuse me, he asked for no pickles. It's me. I'm Fireboy. Bro cooking for real. In my syntax era, the Instagram account is much the same, and they even have a TikTok account with over 1 million followers, which honestly is really impressive. Honestly though, despite usually feeling extremely cynical towards these kind of hashtag cool and hashtag relatable brand accounts, I actually think Cool Math Games kinda makes it work. Firstly, they're not an evil multi-million-dollar brand, they're just a small company running a math game website and genuinely trying their best to bring fun new content to kids as well as preserve old classics. Secondly, while some of their posts do feel a bit, how do you do, fellow kids, some of them are genuinely funny, and it's clear whoever is in charge of running the accounts is really passionate about Cool Math Games and knows all of the deep lore, which is extremely charming and funny. I really like that. I don't know, usually I hate relatable memey brand accounts because they feel inauthentic and pandering, but Cool Math Games kinda has this earnest, goofy energy that makes it a lot more palatable. It's clearly working for them as well. Their accounts are super popular and they regularly get tons of engagement, so if this is what's helping them keep the site afloat after all these years, more power to them. As much as everyone likes to joke about the dubious educational quality of Cool Math Games, including Cool Math Games themselves to be clear, it was genuinely helpful for a lot of kids. For many young people, myself included, when I was in school, math just doesn't really click and it can kind of be a struggle to learn the traditional way. Just like with reading or writing or literally any other skill, it tends to come a lot more naturally when you find a way of learning that's fun and engaging for you, and the truth is, a lot of kids are gonna find video games far more fun and engaging than sheets of multiplication or algebra workbooks. I'm not saying it's necessarily the best or most efficient way to learn or the classic way, but to be honest, the classic way has never been great at catering to a wide variety of students with different learning styles. I'm really glad that people like Karen care enough to try and actually connect with kids and make boring or dry topics that they might not be super into fun experiences. Personally, it was really helpful and constructive for me to play math games as a kid who really didn't like math. You know, when the teacher caught on to the fact that we were all playing Duck Life and actually made us play the ones under the math section. And anything that gets kids to engage authentically with educational topics, even if it's unconventional, is a net positive, I think. And yeah, maybe the website got away from its originally intended purpose a bit, you know, with all the racing and cooking and platforming games and whatnot, but come on, you gotta admit that it's incredibly funny that a site that started out as an educational teaching and learning resources with the name Cool Math eventually warped into a completely unrelated translated Flash game portal right under teachers' noses, and they were just like, whatever, it's got math in the name, it's an educational site, it's fine for the kids to use. No wonder that Cool Math Games was blocked at so many schools that people had to start making mirror sites and tutorials on how to unblock it so you could still play Run during English Lit. If that isn't legend status, I don't know what is. Thank you guys so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I know that Cool Math Games has a dear place in my heart, as it probably does for a lot of you guys, so I really hope that I did it justice, and I really hope that you enjoyed watching this. I'm really curious as always to hear your thoughts, your personal experiences playing the game. Did it get blocked at your school? Did you get caught playing it? What were your favorite games? How many hours do you think that you spent playing Run? Because I think my hour count probably got up there. Anyway, like I said, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Also, sorry about the change of location, I've just moved house, so it's looking kind of bare back there. Hopefully soon I'll have some more shelves so I can put all my Garfields up and it will look a little bit better, hopefully. So yeah, thank you for sticking in there while I do that. I don't know why that came out so weird. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye! A huge thank you to my Garfield overlords over on Patreon: Sheriff Whiskey, Xavier Raho, SHSL Sunsun, Grip Gunderson, Simon, Katrina Likes 5e Stuff, Oliver Brains, Dozo Blint, Hazy, The Furby Librarian, Matt LRJ, Ren Pendragon, Michelle Olsen, A Riddle Wrapped in an Enigma Hidden by a Question Mark, Astrium Vortex, Electro Kitten, Joe Bradshaw, Strawberries, Helm Hamburger Hand, Fitzy, David Martinez, Dana Homegardner, Jesse Chisholm, Charlie B, Caramel Coffee Bean, Blue Mayfeld, and Doug. Thank you so much for the support, it means the world to me. If you want to join these guys over on Patreon, the link will be in the description. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye!